Alright guys, and welcome back to the Saints View, the channel for Southampton content for our match preview ahead of Sunday's home game at St. Mary's against Frank Lampard's Chelsea. Now it's the final game before yet another international break, and we're yet to pick up a win on home soil. So yes, it'll be a tough game, but there is potential of picking up a result this time around. Before we get into the video guys, do make sure you are subscribed. If you haven't subscribed yet already, we are on the road to 2,000 subscribers, around 80 now away, so it's getting closer. Also follow us on our socials if you haven't yet already. Right, let's get into the video. But before we look to Chelsea, let's reflect on the last game. Of course, the 2-1 defeat at Spurs. Should have taken something, very simply put. It was that they were there for the taking. We played against 10 men for about an hour. I know it was away from home, I know it was Spurs, all these cliches, but really we should have come away with at least a point. When you look at the second half, we had about 70-75% possession, which is unheard of for a Saints side over the last couple of seasons, and it was as if we'd actually forgotten what to do with the football, you know. In terms of goal scoring, the last two managers, we hardly had the ball at all. And you know, with Hasenhuttl, we're trying to play a bit more possession-based football, but also attacking football, and it was as if, you know, we're not used to having so much of the ball. We just didn't know what to do with ourselves. We weren't potent enough going forward, didn't create enough chances, and the chances we did create, obviously, we didn't take. But there were some positives to take, of course. First of all, keeping the ball, that was good, better than what it has been at times. Passing was a bit more slick. The only problem is the direction, you know, backwards and sideways. We want to see it played forward more. I completely appreciate the fact that sometimes to get yourself out of danger, you've got to pass the ball back to your goalkeeper or pass it sideways, however. But it's the amount of times, or the lack of times really, that we passed the ball forwards that cost us on Saturday, where really, if we played more forward balls and took a few more risks, you know, we would have put the ball in the back of the net at least once. But positives to take from that game going into Sunday's game, and of course, it's another big one against a so-called top 6 side, and that is Chelsea. Now, they're still recognised as a top 6 side. Yes, the summer didn't go to plan for them. They definitely looked like a team in transition, but so at the moment they're 7th, proving that they are still one of the better teams in the league. And so far, Frank Lampard has done an alright job. You know, we're only 7 Premier League games into the season. They picked up their first win in the Champions League in midweek against Lille. You know, it's getting better for them. And for Saints against Chelsea, it's not really been a positive affair for Sunday's hosts. We've lost the last 4, I believe, at St. Mary's against Chelsea. Actually, the last time we played them, we picked up a point at Stamford Bridge in that 0-0 draw. Pretty drab affair, but performances in the last couple of seasons against the Blues just haven't been good enough. And so, obviously, Ralph Hasenhuttl will be looking to turn the tables on Sunday. Now, the Saints' defence did look more solid with the addition of Mario Shida, both in the Portsmouth game, in the Cup, and the game at Spurs on Saturday. And most Saints fans also seemed quite happy to see Yannick Vestergaard dropped. And then he was brought back in for the Spurs game after Cedric's so-called warm-up injury. Now, we don't know what happened with that. We haven't had the press conference yet. So stay tuned for our predicted lineup tomorrow, where we will actually reveal whether we think Cedric will be playing or not. But for whatever reason, because of our right back dropping out, we went back to the 5 at the back. The 4-3-3 looked promising, and I really want to see that on Sunday. You know, an attacking formation where we've got our key players going forward and actually trying to make things happen, not always being so defensive and having 5 at the back. I just don't like it, and that's a personal preference. I do think Chelsea could potentially use a 5 at the back. They've done it at times before, and they might see it as matching us potentially. I personally think we should go for the 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, however you want to call it. Of course, we're back home. The away performances have been better. I think it's pretty fair to admit that. You know, the only point we've got so far at home was the draw against Man United, which was a good performance. The Liverpool performance was satisfactory as well, given the opposition, but the Bournemouth performance was abysmal, and we really need to sort of sharpen our act at home, because actually we haven't won at home since the beginning of April when we beat Wolves 3-1. And yes, of course, Chelsea are a good side. They're playing well, and they're a big team with some big players, but it's a possibility that we do get a result here. And you know, with some of the stuff we've played, we can definitely get a point. You know, we need our fans behind the team, and if we can create a bit of atmosphere, especially if we get the first goal and St. Mary's is lifted, you know, we could really win this game. And how good would that be going into the international break with a win at home against Chelsea? You know, first home win against Chelsea. I think, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think the last time we beat Chelsea in the league at home was when Ricky Lambert scored that free kick in our first season back. So it's been a long time. The last time we beat them ever was that 3-1 win at Stamford Bridge, when they were in all sorts of a mess under Jose Mourinho. So like I say, a win is actually quite long overdue, against the Blues. But let's talk Chelsea. Now, like I said, they are sat in 7th on 11 points. You know, it's been a satisfactory start, but some results just haven't been ideal for them. I think the Sheffield United home game probably stands out. You know, 2-0 up and you're losing a 2-goal lead at home to a promoted side. Not ideal, of course. The defence has looked shaky at times as a neutral. Last weekend's 2-0 win against Brighton was actually their first clean sheet of the season. So defensively they haven't been too solid, and I can definitely see us scoring. And of course this is Frank Lampard's Chelsea now. We actually faced Frank Lampard 3 times last season when he was manager of Derby. One for a friendly where we got absolutely battered 3-0. And then the FA Cup third round tie, and then the replay, of course, neither went well, bottling 2-goal leads in both games and eventually being knocked out of the competition on penalties. But this Chelsea's team is also one without Eden Hazard, who of course has caused Southampton quite a few problems over the last couple of years, so it'd be a relief not to see him, but they've clearly got some very good attacking options. Tammy Abraham has looked very good for them so far. Mason Mount in midfield, I really like him. Even Tomori at the back is, you know, reliable defender at times. They've had to rely on young players at times, you know, with this transfer ban that happened in the summer. They couldn't bring players in. You know, it's very anti-Chelsea over the last couple of years, but you know, their young players have done really well and they're going to be a real handful for our players on Sunday. But of course, I'm no expert on Chelsea's side. I've asked Laurenz from Blues TV to help us out and give us some insight on all things Chelsea ahead of the game at St. Mary's.
Hello there guys, my name is Laurenz, I'm part of Blues TV, which is a Chelsea fans channel, and today Dan has asked me basically to answer a couple of questions ahead of the Southampton versus Chelsea game on Sunday, and you know, let's just get into that. The first question being, how would I summarise the season under Frank Lampard so far? And the easiest, you know, kind of quick phrase to summarise it is just very up and down. You know, we started off awfully badly with a 4-0 defeat at Man United, a game in which we were arguably the better team, especially up until they made it 1-0. But you could actually argue we were the better team over the whole game. And of course, I know very well how stupid that sounds considering we lost 4-0. Then against Liverpool in the UEFA Super Cup, we are the better team and end up losing on penalties. And then you have these games against Norwich where we just about beat them 3-2 in a crazy game. Then we beat Wolves 5-1. But then we have games like Sheffield where we're in the end kind of fortunate to not lose it, I guess. Or at least we gave away 2 points by conceding a late equaliser. Same against Leicester. We took the lead early on. Could have been about 3-0 up after 20 minutes. And then again, we're actually lucky not to lose the game in the second half because of just poor performances. So it is very up and down, but the last 3 games have been victories. Of course, one of them was in the League Cup against League 2 side, Grimsby Town. But still, 7-1 win against them. We won on the weekend against Brighton for our first clean sheet in the league, and now even in the Champions League away from home, we won against Lille. So it's not been awful, definitely not. There's been a lot of positives, especially with the young players. Not sure if Southampton fans know as much about that as us Chelsea fans do, but we're pretty pleased with all these young players doing so well at the moment. But yeah, I think the simple answer for that question is just very up and down. And the second question is, do you think Wednesday night's Champions League game will affect what side is chosen on Sunday and how it performs? Now, of course, it will probably have a little bit of an impact as to you know, what side is chosen, but that was probably pre-planned to an extent. And how it performs, I don't think it will have much of an impact. Without sounding like big-headed or whatever, we're used to playing midweek, you know, every season pretty much, but when we won the league under Conte, I guess, but usually we're just used to that. Last season it was Thursday, Sunday. Now it was a Wednesday until Sunday. We should be absolutely fine. If anything, we're going to be, you know, in good spirits and probably playing a tiny bit better because we got a big away win in the Champions League with a late winner. So if anything, it will be a positive, but as to how much that game, especially, you know, particularly yesterday, obviously I'm recording this on the Thursday, will affect the lineup on Sunday, I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to wait and see. Actually, I just realised there's 4 questions, but you know, coming to the third one now. Dan is asking me who will be the key players for Chelsea on Sunday that Southampton will need to look out for, and you know, there's a couple. Most of them are the young players. Tammy Abraham up front, you know, scored 7 goals in the league, now 8 goals overall with scoring last night in the Champions League. Mason Mount has been very good at the start, dropped off in form a little bit late, you know, since then. Still performing well, in my opinion, considering he's a 20-year-old, you know, player that is up until then never played in the Premier League or Champions League. But you still want to look out for because he has the ability to hurt anyone, really. Willian has been in decent form recently, scored in both of our last 2 games. So there is certainly players there. And then it depends on what formation and lineup we get there. You know, it could be a Ross Barkley in there. Could hurt you. Doubt it. Not a big fan of Ross Barkley. Kovacic will never score. So it is probably going to be one of Tammy Abraham, Willian, and Mason Mount, or possibly Callum Hudson-Odoi, who could possibly make his first start since returning from injury. So, you know, that is, I guess, that. But, you know, the main thing that you maybe should know, if you don't know, Chelsea are awful at defending set pieces. So most likely scenario for you to get goals against us is set pieces. We've conceded this set piece goal in pretty much every game so far this season. It's awful. I tell you that much. It's bloody awful. And lastly, Dan asked me to give you a score prediction, and obviously I'm a Chelsea fan. I am confident. You've been doing all right. Maybe not as good as some of you have expected. To be honest, not as good as I expected, because obviously I'm Austrian, in case you didn't know. So Ralf Hasenhuttl, your manager, is of course somewhat known to me, I guess. So I expected a tiny bit more at the start of the season, but there were still some decent results in there. But I still do think that we will, I guess, keep the upper hand, in the end, and win the game. It will be a tie game. I reckon it will be a tie game, maybe a 2-1 win for Chelsea. Could be 3, could be 1-0. You could get a draw. We'll have to wait and see, but my score prediction is a 2-1. But yeah, first of all, thank you, Dan, for having me. And to be honest, that was really it from me.
Thank you, Laurenz. Make sure you do go and subscribe to his channel, as well as check out Blues TV. Really good Chelsea channel. And if you want all things insight from their side of things ahead of the game on Sunday, do make sure you go check them out. Right, on to predictions now. I don't know. I got the prediction right last week. I got the 2-1 against Spurs correct. So a bit of power here. Maybe I can make the result go in our favour. Obviously I'm joking, but I feel a little bit confident. I felt confident to an extent against Spurs because I felt like they're in a bad place, not playing too well, and obviously we saw that the other night in the Champions League, really why we should have had a bit more of a go. I think we'll draw this one actually. I can see us winning it, but I think we're going to have to be on top of our game, and we're going to have to rely on Chelsea not being on form at all if we are to take 3 points from this one. But I think we'll give Chelsea a really tough game on Sunday. And in terms of the scoreline, I've gone for a 2-2 draw. Now we've got Danny Ings in form up front. The defence has looked a bit more solid, like I said earlier, with Mario Yoshida. I want to see him in there, and I want to see a 4 at the back. I do not want to see an extra defender in there. Yannick Vestergaard, he's probably only had 1 or 2 good games so far this season. It's disappointing because it looked in pre-season that potentially he was getting better. And after the Man United game, we thought, God, he's going to be the big defender for us here. And it's just not happened yet. So, yeah, might have to see him dropped for a bit more of an experienced head at the back. But like I say, it's going to be a really tough game. Chelsea have got some very good attacking options. But like I said, defensively, we'll have to see. But yeah, I'm going to go for 2-2. Danny Ings to score for the Saints. I'm looking forward to this one. It's a decent possibility that we actually get a scalp over another top 6 sides, which would be fantastic. But thank you very much for watching, guys. Do make sure you like the video. If you have enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new as well. On the road to 2,000 subscribers, so let's get there as soon as possible. Go follow us on our socials if you haven't yet already. And we'll see you tomorrow for our predicted lineup video ahead of Chelsea's visit. See you soon, guys.